Hey guys, this is Steven from Steven's Classic Garage, and welcome to part 3 of my review of the Black Widow from Harbor Freight. So this is the teardown video, so we're going to go through this gun and talk more about it, the quality of the machining and stuff like that. So obviously the first thing that we'll start with is the paint cup, the 600cc paint cup. So paint cup is really nice, really well made. Again, like I said in the first video, I really like how small this inlet is. And then here, over here, right there also there's a hole. And if you're scared, you can pop the top off. The pop just pulls off and you could get more air in there besides this little hole. But the holes are basically the same size. So I'm thinking I'm just going to keep it attached like this. So that way I have very low chance of getting paint to spill out onto my panel. Other than that, pretty standard on the inside. You can see there I have my my filter on there, and again, like I showed in the first video, the thread and the machining here is superb. Absolutely superb on the cup. So cup is really well made. That looks really good. Okay. So breaking down this gun, we have a couple parts. We have the air cap, the nozzle, the diffuser, the needle, and then this back section. This pretty much everything else cannot be taken off. You see now I have a nipple here, a quick disconnect nipple on my swivel fitting. So first let's take off the air cap and look closer at that. So again, if you've seen some other breakdowns, you'll know that this has two seals in it. So you can see inside it has two, either Teflon or Delrin seals in it. And the inside, the machining is again superb, but here's where we see our first defect. You could see right there we have a missing piece of anodization right there. So a little sliver of aluminum popping out of the anodization where they missed it. So other than that, the lock ring, the air nozzle lock ring machining is superb, and the anodization is 99% perfect besides that issue there. And here is the cap itself. I believe it's to be it is brass, and you can see here we have 6 holes, just like in 6 holes here, just like in the Spectrum, the regular Spectrum. But here's also where we see another defect. You can see over here on that hole all the way to the right hand side, there are some burrs of some type. That is not oil, that is indeed some burrs there, and burrs over here at this other side, or scratches. So these might not have been properly deburred. They could, I mean, it looks like it is deburred. I'll have to look at it under a microscope, but usually you have like these things, we call them whirligigs. I used to call them whirligigs when I worked at the machine shop. It's a little wheel, and you take it in there and you spin it around, and it's a tool steel wheel, and that's what you use to deburr these small holes. It looks like they might not have done that, but everywhere else the machining is superb on this. Very little to any flaws at all. Besides those holes there, the machining could be better, at least on mine. Now all of these are going to be different, and like I said, the seals here, they look pretty much perfect. I don't know if Delrin or PTFE Teflon, not sure, but overall that is superb. Now here's where I have my first main gripe. Out of the factory, this nozzle is way too tight, and if you've noticed, it actually mushroomed out the side here, because again, this is either stainless or aluminum. I'm thinking it's steel, but it's so tight that it caused the edges to deform when I took it off with this really nice wrench. So if anything, Harbor Freight needs to work on that with their supplier. Do not put the nozzle on so tight. It's designed to be taken off, and you have to clean it at the beginning. So either there was gunk in here, which there was gunk in here, and it just started to like kind of hold on to it and not let it go. Even right now, well, then again, this is my fault because I tightened it, but they're easy to take off because I put it back on not so tight. So that was a big issue there. And here, let me pull the needle so the needle doesn't grind. And we'll take a look at this. And there you can see the needle sticking out. Okay, so, and you can see here the machining of this guy is also pretty immaculate. Here, threads are really sharp. Does look like we have something there in that second thread. But other than that, I see one scratch right there. Other than that, this machining is perfect lathe quality here. It's shiny. You get kind of that distortion with the light, so that's good. I mean, the machining marks are pretty deep, but they are consistent, so that's good. And you can see here that this thing mushroomed out because it was tightened so tight from the factory. I do not think that that's going to cause any issues, but I could go back and deburr this, deburr some of that mushrooming out off of with a deburring tool. So, and the deburring looks really good on these holes, and these holes are really nice. Everything here looks really nice and should seal really well because the surface is nice and square. And oh, but on the inside here, I don't know if you could see that. On the inside, the drilling quality is not very good. I say I give it a 5 out of 10. There's a lot of ridges. I don't know if you guys could see that. There's a lot of ridges and rough spots and transition spots on the inside. So that's not very good. I did stick that brush in there. I highly doubt that brush is strong enough. That's just a little nylon brush to get it to scratch it up like that. So that's not very good. And also at the bottom, their countersink job on the needle seat looks like it could use some work. So that's unfortunate. So inside there on that the countersink where the needle sits, you could see that it was just simply countersunk, and it's got a lot of chattering with the countersink. So I'm wondering if that was done by hand. The seat itself, where the needle actually seats, looks pretty good, but the countersink leading up to the seat doesn't look very good. I mean, it's a regular countersink. It's like they did it in a drill press and they just kind of did it by hand. It does not look CNC machined because there are a lot of chatter marks on it. So it looks like whatever machine they did it on does not look to be too rigid. So that there definitely, so this bore on the inside, which is where your paint is interacting with everything else, does not look so good. So that piece is probably holding it back, and that is a big component of it. So here is the air diffuser. It's a piece of plastic. It goes inside the barrel right here. You can see the channels in there, and this kind of diffuses the air, so air goes in through here and comes out through these openings here. This is a machine component. You could tell because you could see the machining marks. You could see the pass marks with the end mill going over it and machining it. So this could have been injection molded, which you can't see. It is indeed injection molded. You can see the release pins here, and then it is then machined to tolerance. So that is really the ideal way of doing it. So first it is machined, sorry, it is injection molded, and you can see the releases here, and then anything that needs to be held to tolerance is then machined. So that's really good. Let's go ahead and release the needle and look at that. Really careful to take the needle out to not scratch it too much on the way out. So here is the needle. Again, pretty much perfect. Really, really nice, really smooth. And I like how this is crimped on. That's really nice. So needle is great. Here is this guy, and also this is another thing that you can see. If you can't see inside there, they did not anodize all the way down on the inside. They kind of skipped that part. But it's got a really nice big spring on it, and that gives for a really nice hard trigger pull. Okay, so other than that, that's pretty much it. Inside, oh, and here's another thing, they missed the anodization right there. If you can see how it's shiny, that's because it was not anodized there. But you can see machine marks in here for where they took it back and they machined it. So overall, the gun's quality, I give 7 out of 10 because of that issue with the nozzle. That's a very important point. So that should have been done right, but it looks like on this particular one, it was not done the best. But everything else is really, really good quality. So I give it about a 7 out of 10 as far as internals. Probably the rest of this is probably really good, so it might bring that score up. But alright, so stay tuned for painting.